Rufus here. I'm going to read you another chapter of me book, Pixie Star and the Pocket Watch of Doom. But before I do, I've got to ask you to go along to a website, rufuscribbles.com. You'll find books, merch, galleries, socials, TikTok and all that sort of thing. So yes, please do go along to rufuscribbles.com and help out this starving artist. And now it's time for another chapter. Chapter 15, in which things become very sensible. The three friends crept down the dark, dank corridor for a while before they encountered their first trickster demon. It was sitting on a chair staring at a cupcake, desperately trying to figure out why the bright colours were worrying it so much. It longed for the pink icing and hundreds and thousands to be made nice, sensible beige colour, but didn't know how to make it happen. It was clearly in distress, and tears trickled down its nasty, vicious little face as it mumbled, "Even beige would have been too much. Grey would have been so much better." "Good," whispered Star. "We're not too late. The trickster demons still haven't figured out how to fight these sense grumbles off." At this, they ran down the dripping, dank corridors, turning here, darting there in an effort to find their way out. "The problem with these sense grumbles is," Star said back over his shoulder, "that they run out of energy quite quickly, and the demons can fight them out of their own brains. We don't have much time, but the other problem is that this snotty castle keeps changing shape. It'll have slowed down because of the sense grumbles, but it still might take us a while to find our way out. We're not out of the woods yet." Their feet pattered frantically through the slimy, rotten, snotty castle, this way and that. They passed a group of demons who were on their way to a seminar being held in one of the great halls about how to wrap sandwiches properly without them getting too soggy by lunchtime. "Tag on to the back of this lot," whispered Star. "The hall's bound to have some sort of window in it somewhere we can escape from." They finally got to the great hall, and there was indeed a large window at the back. The hall was packed full of demons. They were all staring at the front of the hall, waiting for the seminar to start, completely unaware that no one was going to be giving a seminar at all. The waiting was weakening the grip that the sense grumbles had on the trickster demons. They edged to the back of the hall, trying to remain unnoticed or to arouse any suspicion, but it was proving to be a tad difficult, as they were the only ones moving, which made a few of the trickster demons glance in their direction. They eventually made it to the window and looked out, quickly ducking as three sense grumbles fired at them with frightening speed. They flew right into three of the demons in the crowd, who instantly started worrying about polishing their shoes properly to extend the lifespan of the leather. This was odd, as they weren't wearing shoes. All three of them looked a little confused for a second, and then headed out of the hall in search of some sensible brogues to polish and take care of.
"That was close,"
muttered Fandango. As Fandango spoke, one of the demons turned for a moment to look at them. It seemed to show a flicker of mischief in its face, but then turned sensible again and faced the front to wait for the non-existent lecture on sandwich wrappings. Star looked worried. "We've only got minutes left. We have to hurry. I can't risk flying, as it'll attract too much attention, so I'll have to climb down," he said as he delved into his satchel and pulled out a rope ladder. He flung it, as quietly and sneakily as he could, out of the window, and it unravelled down the side of the red-nose-covered snotty wall of the castle. They all clambered out as a few of the demons looked back at them, flashes of dastardly smirks crossing their faces. One of them even started to step towards them before it thought better of it and turned back to the crowd. Time was getting short. There were even a few cackles coming from the front of the hall. They were quite high up. They scrambled down the side of the castle as gooey, snotty drippings started to coat the rope ladder, making the climb slippery and dangerous. The slimy climb made it difficult to dodge the whizzing sense grumbles that filled the air. One of them glanced off Hazel's ear, and she momentarily felt an overwhelming urge to buy some nice grey trousers and a high-necked top. Luckily, the urge passed quickly. As the slime of the red noses slowed their climb, they heard more and more cackles coming from the great hall. Fandango was having problems keeping calm. If he grew due to fear or anger, then his stubby fingers and toes wouldn't be able to grip. Trying not to be scared while being scared is not easy at all, and it didn't help that the cackles from the hall turned into cackles from the window. He looked up, and there, steering a nasty sneer, was the face of a trickster demon. It looked nasty one second, and then sensible the next, then nasty, then sensible, and finally, as Fandango's heart raced and he concentrated as hard as he could to stop his fear, the face became full-on, nasty and mischievous. It glared down at them. It seemed to sense something wrong. It could see 3 trickster demons, but somehow it seemed to have an inkling that there was something not quite right about them. Maybe it was the look of fear on the face of the one closest to it. Trickster demons didn't feel fear, just malice, sneakiness and the like.
"Star,"
Fandango said in an alarmed whisper.
"one of them's coming down the ladder."
Star looked up. Hazel was beneath him, grappling and slipping and dodging scent grumbles. "Just hold it together for a little longer, Fandango. We're nearly there. Just a few more meters, and we're on the But Star didn't get to finish his sentence. Fandango's panic had become too hard to hold back, and he grew. His wrist getting too big for the elastic band disguise, and it snapped, revealing him in all of his pinkness. The demon hissed and cackled, which seemed to wake more demons up inside the great hall. There was a steady increase in cackles, hissing, claws, scratching, and more of them started heading down the ladder. Fandango fell, smacking right into Star and Hazel on the way down. They plummeted to the ground and were sure to be horribly injured. Star broke his disguise and took flight, grabbing his 2 friends and just managing to slow their fall before they hit the sharp gravel at the foot of the castle. Star's grip snapped Hazel's disguise. The game was up. Floods of trickster demons scrambled down the ladder as they all fell over each other in an attempt to get to their feet and run. There was nowhere to go. The noise brought dozens of other demons to their senses from all around, and they all started to attack, clawing their way towards the friends in a terrifying wave. "Don't you dare leave us again!" screamed Hazel in terror. "We'll fight them," grunted Star. "I don't care what happens. We'll fight them all. We're only meters away from the realm door." Star knew it was hopeless, but he wasn't going to go down without a fight and couldn't risk leaving them again, as their minds would surely be broken if they had to go through any more than a few days of trickster torture. He knew that there'd be no second rescue, and he wasn't going to leave Hazel and Fandango in the hands of these terrible creatures without giving some of them bloody noses on the way. His hands glowed lightning blue, and electricity fired out of them, knocking a few dozen of the hordes of demons into the air. He cleared a path. In seconds they were sprinting toward the realm door, Star firing off pixie lightning left and right, but there were just too many of them. They numbered in the thousands, and no matter how many Star knocked over, there was 100 more waiting to tumble over the injured and capture the 3 adventurers. "It's no good," Hazel cried in panic. "They'll catch us and we'll be lost. We'll go properly mad this time." Just then, all the trickster demons stopped. Hazel, Star and Fandango were surrounded. Thousands of demons circled them and they prepared themselves for the worst. They stood there, panting, sweaty, slimy from the climb and terrified, until Hazel noticed something. "They're not looking at us," she muttered through laboured breath. "They're looking up." The trickster demons were all indeed looking into the sky in various directions.
"What's that noise?"
said Fandango, shrinking slightly as the curiosity gripped him. There was a dull buzzing noise filling the air. They couldn't quite tell where it was coming from. They dared not move in case the trickster demons brought their attention back to the escape attempt. All was still. It felt really rather odd after the chaos of the chase just moments before. Then, from somewhere at the back of the thousands of demons, there came hisses and cries. Moments later, the demons started to scatter. All of a sudden, from behind the great, lumpy, red-nosed, covered, snotty castle, a gigantic swarm of scent grumbles emerged. "The grumbles must have decided on an invasion! Good grief, I've started a war. This is our chance!" screamed Star. "Keep your heads down and run!" Demons fell all over, left and right, dropping to the ground in a panic as the scent grumbles hit them and then rising, slowly, sensibly, and ambling off to do things in a sensible and well-behaved manner. One of them started looking at his claws and sauntered off to find some nail clippers, as he'd never get a good stable job with fingernails like that. Another decided that he would go to university to study politics, as he suddenly felt that things in the trickster realm needed a firm and well-educated hand to bring a more civilized feel to the place. Everywhere the cackling, scratching, snarling and chaos turned into chin-scratching, the silence of sensible thought, and the instant need to do nice and level-headed things. A group of demons started pondering the sharp gravel and thought it would be far less dangerous if smooth pebbles were used instead, while Star, Hazel and Fandango bolted for the realm door, constantly dodging the sense grumbles. Sounds of pure lunacy gave way to an uncomfortable sense of order and organisation as the friends dived at a huge rock and, with a flash of pink light, were gone. The 3 of them thumped to the ground in a heap. In the forest glade, things were behaving in their usual nice and normal way. Fireflies were hovering happily, as they tend to do. Moon shadows brushed the forest glade, as can sometimes happen. Silver light tickled the tops of the long grass as it swayed in the easy breeze, as is usually the case on calm, clear nights, and a nearby stream went about its usual business of gently gurgling and trickling between nice, smooth, round rocks and pebbles. Soon, the quiet was to be interrupted. They were back at the beginning. Thanks so much for coming and hanging out with me and listening to the thing. Go to my website, rufuscribbles.com, for my art gallery, books, merch, socials, all that stuff.
And I shall see you next time. Adios, muchachos.